In today's video, I'm sharing my pros and cons for the Google Pixel 9 Pro. Let's get right into it. Okay, friends, the time has finally arrived. I know it has been a really long time since I've talked about the Google Pixel 9 Pro in a review kind of sense, and so we're doing the official review today. I appreciate your patience. I know I've been getting a ton of questions over the past 6 months about this phone, and so I'm hoping I can share some of my personal thoughts in this video to help you decide whether or not you want to go with the 9 Pro. Again, I know it's been a while. If you have seen any of my other Google Pixel videos or reviews, sorry, that's Riley, you'll know that I like to really sit with the phone and use the phone for an extended period of time before I can give an official review, before I can truly say whether or not I recommend the phone or not. And so that is why it takes me about 6 months. I feel like it is a fair amount of time for me to use the phone. And I'll just say, as a disclaimer right now, there is so much that this phone can do to a point where I still haven't touched all of the different features, all of the different softwares and tools and things that are in this phone. So bear with me as we go through my list of pros and cons. I do not talk about every single thing. There's just so much, which can be a good or bad thing depending on how you feel about that. But yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it. And again, I appreciate your patience. So let's start with the pros. And I do have the phone completely out of the case. I do regularly wear a case. I don't like that I have to regularly wear a case, but I do have one. And if you are interested in the exact specs, I got the porcelain Google Pixel 9 Pro in the standard size. So there's a Google Pixel 9 Pro in the standard size, and then there's one that is XL. I did not get the XL. I promise you, I did not get the XL. A lot of people were commenting and asking me, like, are you sure? Because that looks gigantic. No, I'm sure. My hands are just really tiny. I am a tiny human being. So, yeah, this is the standard size, and this is what it looks like in your hand if you are also a tiny human. If you are an average sized or larger human, this is going to look much smaller in your hand. So, just a heads up on that. And I got it in porcelain, and I'm pretty sure I got it in the smallest amount of storage size because that is the most affordable. Mind you, I don't get gifted or paid to do any of these reviews. I purchase this phone every single year. So yeah, I try to be as budget friendly as possible for myself as well. And so yeah, that is what the phone looks like. It looks super clean and brand new from the back, at least because of the case. I know I say that I hate wearing cases because I really like to showcase the phone itself, but you know, there's a reason for cases. I know, I am aware. I also have a screen protector on this and all of that jazz. Okay, so moving into the actual pros, the first pro that I have is about the hardware, and that I think that this phone is pretty luxe, actually. At first, I did not like the design of this. I did not like the feel of this because it feels very similar to an older version of an iPhone. Some people agree with that, some people disagree with that. That is just my thoughts on the matter. And I didn't like that approach. I really liked that the Google Pixel phones had their own style and their own like space in the design element. And so I did not initially like the way that this looks. However, I do like it now. It feels very luxe in my hand. It feels very high quality. It feels like a very serious kind of phone, a very legit kind of phone. And it also has like these nice shiny edges. It just, I don't know, it feels very nice. And so it has grown on me and I do like it now. If they were to change it up next year and going forward, I would also be okay with that because I feel like this is a little bit of the standard, a little bit too much of the norm, but it is a pro in the sense that it feels luxe. I will also say a pro is the color. The porcelain is super nice. I wish that I can go with a color, like an actual fun color, every single year with the Google Pixel phones, but sometimes the color just isn't like their showcased color isn't my vibe. For example, I think this year their showcased color was pink, and I just didn't like that shade of pink. So I ended up going with the porcelain, the white, and I really love this white. I think it's white, but it's not like stark white. It's not super sharp and bright and blinding. It has a little bit of softness and warmth to it, which if you know anything about my channel, you'll know that I really love that. You can even probably tell from my background, my decor. I like things on the warmer side. So I Really love the color. Okay, another pro is the size. As you can see, I'm starting with a lot of hardware stuff. I really love this size. I really love small phones. The fact that we keep getting bigger and bigger every single year drives me crazy because once again, I'm a small human being and I just turned the flashlight on. I don't like to have a gigantic phone in my hand all the time. I don't like to have a gigantic phone that can hardly fit into the pockets of my little tiny jeans pockets. So the fact that they offered a smaller size this year was fantastic, and I really love this size. This size is smaller than the Google Pixel 8 series, so it was an upgrade for me because I prefer small sized phones. But the XL, the 9XL, is significantly bigger. So just a heads up on that. Again, if you are a small human, you're going to really appreciate the smaller size here. Or if you're just not a fan of gigantic phones, I don't know why we need to get bigger and bigger. When we have tablets, we have laptops. Our phones should be handheld for a reason. Another pro is that the battery is fantastic. I have had my ups and downs with Google Pixel batteries. Mostly the 6 series. The 6 series really drove me crazy. It was probably my least favorite of the entire series, and a big factor of that was because the battery was horrendous. But this battery is really good. I use my phone heavily, and I mainly use it for photo taking, video taking, photo editing, video editing, a lot of social media stuff. I'll be in platforms for a very, very long time doing extensive work in it, and my battery lasts all day long. There are times where I'll be extremely heavily using my phone, and sometimes I'll need to plug it in at the latter half of the day for a little bit, but that's rare. More often than not, the battery is fantastic on this, and even though it is the smaller version, I've yet to have any issues with the battery. I should also just mention, because I know people are going to ask me about this, about overheating and things like that, because that was another issue that I had with the 6 series. Never had issues with overheating, never had issues with things just shutting down, not functioning because of overheating. Even in the warmer seasons, stuff like that, have not had an issue with that. Okay, moving on to more software types of things. Another pro is the safety features. This goes across all of the Google Pixel phones, I believe. I think there's fantastic safety features on the Google Pixel devices, and I'm pretty sure that they focus in on that whenever they have their conferences around the fall time. They talk about the safety features. There's like crash identification. There's easy ways to access 911 if you need to call 911 and you're like in a really serious situation. There's a lot of other detection features. There's easy ways to get in contact with your emergency contacts. There's another feature for you to share your location in a very seamless way. All of these things are extremely important to me. Safety is really, really important to me. So that is a huge pro, and I hope that they continue to focus in on that, especially during the conferences, and showcase that as something unique with the phone, because that is, I don't know, I just think that's really cool and important, and a critical feature to have in a device that is always with you at all times and can keep you extremely safe, given that all of those features work really well. I've yet to actually use them, thank goodness. I hope I don't have to, but the fact that they're there makes me happy. Okay, another pro is Gemini. I really like Gemini. I have been using Gemini, and I have to admit, in the first few months of me using this phone, wasn't really using Gemini because there are so many other accessible ways to access Google search or to find an answer to a question that are much more innate for me. Of course, if you use the Google Pixel devices, you know that you can really easily get to Google search at the bottom of your phone. I can just show it to you right now. Right at the bottom there, you can see that there is a search bar. So there's so many ways to access Google search that I wasn't necessarily going to Gemini for a lot of things until I really told myself, like, you got this phone for a reason. You need to be using Gemini. And once I started using it and started realizing how easy and how intuitive and how smart it is, I started using it more and more often than the other more intuitive ways that I was searching for things and searching for answers before. I think it's incredibly smart. I think it really gives good, comprehensive, accessible answers to questions that you may have. And I also really love the fact that I can ask Gemini questions that are very conversational. I don't have to reword it in my brain or stop and think about it in a Google search kind of way and phrase it in that way. for me to get an answer from Gemini. So again, that makes it much easier to use and much more accessible to use. It gives me great summaries. It doesn't only give me great summaries, it also lists out resources, bullet points, links, videos, all of those things. And so again, extremely comprehensive and such a fantastic tool for a handheld device. So I do love Gemini. There are so many things about Gemini that I've yet to discover and explore. So more on that. And if you want videos dedicated to Gemini, because it's a whole beast in its own, just let me know in the comments. And speaking of other features that are kind of adjacent to Gemini, just like smart features on the phone, I really love Lens and I really love Circle Search. A lot of these things kind of equate to just search, but they are done in an intuitive way and an accessible way that makes my life so much more easy. So on a practical level, using Lens is something that I use when I'm out and about and I don't want to stop, completely forget who I'm talking to or where I'm at, and just start typing in a search into Google. I can pull my phone out really quickly. Like say there's a bird and I don't want this bird to fly away. I can very quickly open my phone, use Lens, point it up at the bird, and get my answer really, really quick. It can also be great for conversation. If I'm in a large conversation and the conversation is going and going, and then like a question comes up, I can very quickly use Lens in this like scope that I'm in the space that I'm in, and find an answer to a question that everybody was talking about in that conversation. So just practical examples for how I use Lens and how convenient it is. And in the same sense, Circle Search is really fantastic as well. I can be scrolling on social media. This is probably the main way that I use Circle Search. I will be on social media. I can hold down on that button right over here. It kind of is a floating button there. And I can hold onto that while I'm in whatever social media platform that I'm on. And I can circle search someone's outfit. I can circle search a product. I can circle search an animal, whatever it may be. And I can find instant answers. And I think it is particularly helpful for when you're scrolling on social media, because a lot of the times you'll want to know about something, you'll be curious about something that you're looking at on social, and you don't want to just find your answer through the comments. You want to find more extensive research. Maybe you want to bookmark it. Maybe you want to find something that's a little bit more of a dig than just going through the comments of the social media platform. And so again, just a lot of intuitive, comprehensive, convenient ways to search for things, do research basically. And this phone has really helped me extend my, my research in general, because I do a lot of research, if that is random or not. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, another thing I love about the phone, another pro, is that it moves extremely fast. You may have seen me use this phone when I do videos that are, just like tutorials. The phone moves extremely fast. Sometimes people will comment and say that they can't even catch up with how fast that I'm going. Sometimes I have to stop myself and say, let me go back and redo that tutorial, because I went so insanely fast that people are not gonna see what I even did there. So that is great. Another form of convenience. You'll start to notice that anytime I do videos about the Google Pixel devices that I talk about convenience a lot. I think a handheld device should be convenient first and foremost. If it's going to be a powerhouse of a device and it's in your pocket, literally, I think it should be extremely convenient in many practical ways. And so you'll hear me talk about that a lot. Just a side note. And then the last pro, which I'm sure you all were waiting for me to say or talk about, it is the photo and video quality. It is fantastic. It is phenomenal. It is the 99% reason why I invest and purchase Google Pixel devices. Photos and videos are extremely important to me as a content creator. I'm constantly taking photos, constantly taking videos, and this quality is top notch. It's so, so good. I don't really require much editing, and I have gotten so many comments over the past few months that really kind of accuse me of using AI when I take photos and post photos. They really have to ask me if this is a real photograph. It's a real photograph. I'm not using AI. I'm not using any of the AI tools that the Google Pixel devices provide. I'm just pointing, shooting, doing a little bit of fine tuning, such as like brightness, contrast, and warmth, which are just basic photo editing tools, not AI tools. And people ask me that. So I think that just goes without saying that the quality is so good that people can't even comprehend that it's real. And the same goes for videos. Sometimes the videos are so, not sometimes, the videos are so crisp, the videos are so smooth. People have reached out to me and asked me, like, is that the Google Pixel 9 Pro? Because that's insane how smooth and fast and clear it is on social media. I get a lot of questions about that. Is the quality the same on social media? Yes, it is. You can go on my Instagram, you can go on my TikTok, you can see for yourself. A lot of the times, and this is a valid question, by the way, if people have asked me that, a lot of the times, especially if you're an Android user, if you're capturing content on your phone in the Photos app, it looks fantastic. When you post it on a platform, the quality goes down, and that's in part due to the platform. It's not the phone's fault, it's not your photo's fault, it's not your camera's fault. It's the platform, because they are using a processor, or like whatever the term is, on the back end to upload your content in a sea, in a ocean of so much other content. So it's not the device's fault for any of that. But I will just say, if you go on my Instagram, if you go on my TikTok, you'll see examples of how fantastic the quality is over the past 6 months. Okay, so those are all of the pros. We are now moving on to cons, and I do have cons, and I kind of have a good list of cons here. So let's jump into it. The first con is AI photo editing. I think the AI photo editing is a little faulty, and it's not necessarily practical. So for me, I don't really use the photo editing with the AI features at all. And maybe that's because I really focus in on taking fantastic quality photos and videos as is, and so it's not really applicable to me. And I think that's absolutely fair. If somebody is really into the AI stuff, they're going to use it more heavily. For me, I don't, so it's not really practical. And so it makes me think about the fact that I purchased the phone and it really showcases and pushes those features. Like, do I need to buy it if it's really pushing that kind of camera, video quality types of things? Or should I just go with an older version because those things don't really matter to me? So those are just the things that float in my head when I think about it, and I think of it as a con. And it's also a little bit faulty. Sometimes I will use the editing features just for funsies, and it will not generate something perfect. For example, if I want to remove things from the background of a photo or completely transform it into a completely different background, things will get choppy, things will get kind of blurry and mushed together, and so it's not perfect even at that. So when I'm just having fun with it, it's not perfect. I don't feel like I can trust to use it if I'm using it for an actual piece that I want to post online, if that makes sense. Another con is the 8K that they claim to have on this phone. You can shoot in 8K, or you can get video 8K quality videos on this phone. I don't know how they worded it or phrased it exactly now. I can't remember. But you need to process your 4K video or whatever resolution video into 8K. And so they're using software to turn your video into 8K. It's not shooting in 8K. And so I gave this a try at the start when I started using this phone, because obviously if 8K is the best option, I'm going to go with 8K. And it takes an insane amount of time to process. I tested this with a 30-second video. It took all day. I tested this with a 5-second video. It took like 30 plus minutes. There's no way I'm going to wait that long to process any form of video for social media and have me wait that long. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to revert back to using 4K because it's immediate, and yeah, just I'm not waiting 30 minutes for the rendering of a 5-second clip. That will take me multiple days to post once or twice on social media. Like, it's just not practical. The other con is the zoom. The zoom is not super smooth. As you can see, a lot of my cons are dealing with the camera and video stuff. Camera, video, photo stuff, because those are the most important things to me. The zoom is not super smooth. If you are filming a video, and you know a lot of people like to zoom in from 0 to 100 really, really quickly. If you try to do that with the video here and the zoom capabilities here, there will be a jump. There will be a weird jump, and you'll see the difference in quality in that jump, and it's just not smooth. So if you're trying to do an effect like that, a zoom in effect like that, it's not going to be great. And so I've had so many instances where I wanted to post a video where I went from 0 to 100, and I just can't use the video because it has a really awkward jump, and quality shift that's so obvious that I can't edit it out. Okay, another con is the noise reduction. It's not perfect on this phone. And I don't know if they've made big improvements from the 8 over to the 9 when it comes to the noise reduction. They really sold it in the 8 series, and I was impressed with it in the 8 series because it was very new. Now with the 9 series, if I'm filming a video, more often than not, if audio is a big thing for me, for example, I do some ASMR videos on my short form content, I will use a mic. I will use just a mic. I'm not using the mic on this phone. So it's not great. It's a little funky, and so that means that it's a con. Like, if you're going to sell the fact that the noise reduction is fantastic, it should be fantastic. Okay, and then the last con that I have is that the studio and screenshots stuff, like those apps that are exclusive, I think, or they were announced and released with this phone, they're not really useful and they're not really practical. The studio is basically an app where you can go in and you can do some like fun things. It's called Pixel Studio. You can do some fun things. You can do a lot of AI stuff, and they kind of sold it like you can send fun memes, you can send like original memes, you can send cards, greeting cards, invites through here, almost like an AI Canva kind of thing, just straight through this phone, through the app. I've used it quite a few times just for fun, just to be silly, just to experiment with it, but on a practical level, I'm not using it, period. And then the same goes for the screenshots app. I really thought the screenshots app was going to be mind-blowing for me because I am a big screenshotter, but I just go into the screenshots section of my camera folder and I just access my screenshots from there. I'm not doing anything extensive when I just access my screenshots. I just do my basic stuff, and I don't really feel compelled to do any of the advanced search or categorization types of things that the screenshot app has, because if I can access it really easily from my screenshots folder, I'm just gonna do that, and that's that. And a lot of the times I just delete some of the screenshots that I use, so that's that. If they had removed the ability to access your screenshots from your camera, like your Photos app, maybe, I mean, obviously I would go into the screenshots app more, so maybe they made it a little bit too accessible and too many options in that sense. But yeah, I don't think I've ever used the screenshots app ever, except for the fact that I opened it just to see what it looks like. But that is all that I have for you in this video. Oh my gosh, friends, I completely forgot to say whether or not I can recommend the Google Pixel 9 Pro. Sorry about that, but it's a tricky one for me this time around. I would say if you've never had a Google Pixel device, if you are looking to switch from a completely different phone over to the Google Pixel devices and you're looking for the newest one, obviously, because it's the newest one, this one is a really good option and I do recommend. I think it's an incredible phone. I think it is a high performing, high quality phone that does a lot and has so much extensive features and is really impressive when it comes to the phone's camera. So absolutely 100% recommend. And I also recommend for the fact that it feels more luxe and more premium compared to the other phones when we're talking about hardware and feel and all of those things. Now, if you're one of those people that has a 7, an 8, maybe an even older Google Pixel device, I would say it really depends. It really depends because I had the Google Pixel 8 Pro, and a lot of the times I continuously think to myself that I could have stuck with the Google Pixel 8 Pro and I would have been just fine. And I still think that a lot. So if you have the Google Pixel 8 phone or, any of the phones in that series, I think you're fine to stick with it. There have been a lot of major improvements, but it depends on what's super important to you. If AI features are extremely important to you, maybe switch over to the 9 Pro. If the feel of the phone isn't what you're into when it comes to the older devices, yes, go with the 9 Pro because it feels completely different. The structure and build of it is completely different. However, a lot of things are also quite the same, quite similar, and are software based. So the phones are going to get updated to those things anyway. The older phones are going to get updated to those things or get those things anyway. If you're one of those people that has Google Pixel devices and you're not sure like what specs are most important to you, go on the Google Store website and compare your current phone to the Google Pixel 9 Pro phone, you can literally do a side-by-side comparison on the website and see if those little things, those little details, those deal breakers are in fact deal breakers. And if you notice that they are, then don't go with the 9 Pro. But aside from that, if you are just jumping into the Google Pixel world for the very first time, I think you'll really love the Google Pixel 9 Pro. Again, it's super comprehensive and there's so many things that if it's your very first one, you will have a blast of a time. I hope this is helpful. I'm sorry that that's kind of confusing and I always say it depends, but it's the truth. It really does depend, and you can't have just one surefire answer to this because your needs for a phone, a smartphone, which is your companion on the day-to-day, is going to be completely different than mine or someone else's. So hopefully those little tidbits are helpful. I feel like I've gone through a lot of things, and once again, just scratching the surface of what this phone can do. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's fantastic. The phone is so freaking convenient that I don't even know what it can do on a practical level because I just don't touch it or go through those particular tools and settings on a practical level. Maybe that's a bad thing. Why is there so much that I haven't been able to explore after 6 months of using the phone? Should there be a more intuitive way of accessing those tools or learning about those tools? I do know that they have like a Pixel Tips app in here. I don't really get notified for new things that I should know about on a notification level, so maybe they should do that. I don't know. These are just ideas that I'm throwing out there, but once again, I've only scratched the surface of what this phone can do, and I'm not too sure if that's a good or bad thing. You let me know what you think in the comment section about anything that I mentioned in today's video. If you have particular pros and cons that I didn't talk about the Google Pixel 9 Pro, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns. I cannot compare this to the most recent version of the iPhone. I don't use iPhones. I don't have iPhones. I'm not a full-time tech YouTuber. I don't have 20 phones across the scope of smartphones that I can truly pick up and practically compare. So I am so sorry for that. If you do want those kinds of reviews, those kinds of comparisons, those kinds of tests, I highly suggest you check out actual tech YouTubers. This is just my opinion based off of my use of the phone, and that's all that I can share with you for now. I'm more than happy to share more videos as the months go on and based off of the questions that you have, because I am trying to do that as best as I possibly can. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will talk to you in the next video.